And there we go. Looks like we got into the game just after the first pick here, which was for Seasand, who went for Persia. I'll mark this up for myself before anything else. So, welcome everybody. This is the second start for this stream. So because there was some weirdness going on with OBS, so I'd had to do a false start here. It's a bit scattered because of that. But this is game number 33 in the lower bracket between Seasand and Icematrix. We're playing on this tiny coastal rain basin square. Not the most common map type. We're much more common to see dual-sized map instead of tiny ones here. Season this first pick we did go for Persia Scholar, which wore like a an interesting choice. I don't think I've seen a warlike Scholar so yet, but it makes sense in trying to cover your weaknesses in taking a really focused science leader and then taking warlike to give you some extra training, even though the numbers on warlike aren't that strong. It's just one per year per culture level. Icematrix has decided to go for Assyrian clerics as they are starting. Interesting. Not often that you see clerics as the first family. Assyria clerics. And this is a affable builder. Interesting to see affable. It's a very strong trait though, so I am not super surprised to see it being picked here. Getting those first points of growth makes a huge deal in these for your first settler especially, and then it scales into the late game as well. Does mean that you have no source of initial science at all, but you can kind of get around that by getting your settlers quickly, then you're getting your workers quickly, and then you can spend some of those build queue turns on getting your science up instead of doing it the other way around where you use intelligent or more educated to get the immediate boost. I have to apologize in advance as well with that. I noticed the message that this game needed a caster just after getting out of sauna. Ready to go to bed already, so this will be a rather low energy cast this evening. Let's see, did the players... We are on simultaneous turns, so I assume the timer is off for just this first turn here. So, hunters here is so hunters here for the camels, the game, and the ore means that you do get a really nice starting capital for your military. You get a growth resource that gets doubled. Then you get the orders from these camels that you want to improve even probably that you can double, and then you even get the ore for extra training. So very very strong capital for Persia here. And with the second site with quad marble actually. I think you only saw 2 of these probably from the starting information you had, so going Persia makes even more sense because you do get statesmen here, this is a very very nice statesman city site, especially with Persia and with the access to immediate pastures. While Icematrix here went for Assyria, probably I don't think it's even arguable. I think it's the most powerful late game war civ. Does start with trapping as well, so you do get the game online immediately. The event for clerics here it's quite interesting as the first pick. I assume it's well, he obviously will have to go for monasteries and temples to get the maximum value out of it, but I think it's also because of this large amount of sandy terrain and he probably wants to make use of it. And with Assyria, you quite often go for the clerics. Anyways, you usually go for champions hunters or champions patrons clerics. You rarely see all of these three families in the same game. Already cleared the first site out. Let's see the map. For the map itself, it's a tiny map, so we have a decent amount of city sites. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the middle. No, actually, this is still 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I assume this is 11 sites for both players and then 2 in the middle. Or is this also a middle site here? No. Or is it actually 13 sites for both players and these ones are the middle ones? Yeah, it's that way. I got fooled by the really big open plain here. So it's a huge map. When you compare it to it's common for a dual map to have 14 sites total, while this map has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 sites for each player. If my maths out. So an immense amount of city sites. Almost certain that there will be no knockout blows in this first session yet, just because of the map size. I am quite interested to see what cities, what family Assyria will go for the next city. Also, interesting to not see Carthage in this game. It's been pretty common here for the players to consider Carthage a kind of a must pick with how strong it is. Oh, and looks like this Vandal site here in the corner is completely cut off. There's no way to get to it without getting boats, so it will be an annoyance for both players here. So the Vandal opinion might come into play at some point here. Otherwise, the map layout is really open and flat in the middle. This will be very annoying ground to fight in. Definitely favors Persia, I would say, with the cataphracts, Pelton cavalry. These big open plains to gallop over. Which is also something that Persia does have the horses for here. And here in the second city site as well. Has already marked labor force as a target for Persia. Kind of I wonder if he has, yeah, only labor force but not navigation. Persia is one of those nations that can delay labor force the longest, just because of the the bonus here that you all of your pastures give you half an order. So even here with this, there's one goat in the capital, as well as a horse here and a horse here. That's already 1.5 orders with even before. Rather, it's 1.5 extra orders even before specialists. So you definitely can go a long way without getting navigation if you want to pick something instead of going for immediate serfdom. In terms of rivers and navigation in general, there's the typical coastal rain basin river systems where the river starts from the southern side of the map, from the mountains here, and flow to the coast, which means that basically all of the city sites are connected to the ocean, but it's also there's basically no movement in the vertical direction, the east-west direction. So the players need to spend a good amount of time building roads towards each other for military movement. Very typical and in that sense. Interesting. The Persians went for clerics as well here. So most players have clerics online now. Would have expected. I don't remember if he had a vision on this horse tile. I assume that he did. But if you had a vision on this horse tile, I think I would have gone for riders here. Myself. Just for the late game. Possibility of building pure Palton cabs. Assyria went for champions, which is a more standard choice if I had to say. Let's see, champions. Did grab the second settler already, so he can settle the southern side of basically immediately. I would expect this to be either a second cleric side or then patrons. I don't think you want to go hunters here. I'm actually very surprised that this wasn't a hunter city for Assyria as well, with the having both game and camels. Both players haven't gotten any proper scouting done yet. Still sitting on a rather low legitimacy. Pleasure is in a bit of a lead for the moment here. I don't know if it's because they have met an extra tribe or if it's from naming locations. Yeah, it's naming locations. I assume that Persia grabbed the stone boost here. Otherwise I would think that you could. I don't think you would have gotten 300 stone from anything. So will be interesting to see if he decides to grab divination here real quick. Go for those shrines. That's usually the most common way of spending this stone is to getting early shrines. Meanwhile, oh, interesting. Icematrix is actually pushing the settler out of a way forwards instead of settling south of the capital. But here you can see the affable coming into play. Usually these third settler takes quite a while to build, but with affable and having a camp and a farm and a granary here, the growth in the city is actually really nice. We need to growth per turn. on turn 10 when you compare it to Seasand's capital, which is at 14, and even that's with hunters, hunters camp here. So Seasand even gets a good amount of extra free growth from that. But decided to go for the mine and then the pasture only afterwards. I'm always happy to see the champions militia be in a position where it can immediately come and help. Oh, and looks like Icematrix got the event here, which gives you a free warrior after clearing a tribal site. He has very good tempo in clearing now with these 4 units. And basically clear every camp until he meets Seasand here. With just these units. These champions slingers with Assyria are very powerful. Also grabbing the stone boost. A good amount of turns are later than Seasand because he doesn't have the extra science that Seasand has from being a scholar, a science archetype. But let's do a quick check. There's camels in the capital, so it's a good idea to see if there's enough resources for land consolidation. There's a camels and a elephant to grow resources. So 4, there's another elephant and a wine, double wine. That's 6 resources, 7 resources, 8 resources, 9, 10. There's definitely enough resources for land consolidation, even if it's mostly elephants. This is actually an insane amount of elephants on this map. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 elephants on each side of the map. Carthage would be very happy on this map. Though I guess if this is basically a double-sized map compared to a dual, well, not quite. It's 58 by 58, while duels are like 40 by 40 quite often. So it's not quite double-sized, but you do get the double the amount of elephants. Persia will be very happy once they see this expand here, getting that free husbandry. Lets them immediately improve this cattle without having to take any detours for teching. So... Oh, this is dangerous. Looks like the city side here spawned an extra unit before it died. But he can force march here before settling. Will take all of his orders and then even take an extra order buy, but he can do it. Decides to sacrifice the slinger instead and lock the site with a scout, so he can do it without force marching. I think force marching here would have been worth it still. I think you always have to. You are happy to force march anyways if you can settle one turn early. You basically trade 1 turn of 100 training for 1 turn of your city production, which is usually a good deal early on in the game. But you are happy to trade, then give an extra 100 training to save a slinger. I consider that easily to be worth. Of course, the cost in orders is it doesn't feel super nice to have to spend your entire turn just to move this one settler here. And it might be that he wants to settle one turn, well, one tile to the west instead of on the city site itself, and this lets him do it. But, oh, did he move the scout away at the last second? Must have been. Must have been. I think looking at the other stuff while that was happening. So he will just backfill the side instead. Meanwhile, Assyria is still just throwing all the settlers forwards after his pain train here. Actually, because this warrior spawned forwards from clearing the camp, he actually has a unused slinger even here back, just standing with this militia. So he actually has more units than he has orders to spend to move those around. It's a bit unfortunate that he doesn't really have he doesn't really want to go for this specialist in this city, so I assume that he will just go for even more war settlers here instead of really. Because this is with this amount of tempo, you'd be happy to put one Seasand specialist in your cities. But doesn't quite have the opportunity to do so. Let's see. Persia did go for riders. This horse here. So did decide to skip on statesman. Which is probably... I think I always would have gone for statesman here with this quad marble city site here. But it's understandable that you want to go for riders anyways. It's very powerful, especially when you lose a unit early on. You can spend a lot of the orders that you would have wasted by not having enough units to move around. You can use the scout and you will always have something to do with your orders. Just standing, even running around here and gathering all these resources, harvesting them is definitely a valid use of orders here. Even if it's too early for those harvest events yet. They only start firing at turn number 30. That's the option of slavery or freedom. Actually quite a difficult choice for Persia here. I assume that he will go for freedom because he is delayed here by his starting slinger dying. So he will want to catch up on his build queue time and slay with the freedom. The extra growth from freedom is a good way of catching up on this settler production. Just shave a couple of turns off. But did that to go for slavery instead. Slavery is definitely the more straightforwardly powerful option, I think. With just getting the extra yields is super nice. This is one of those rare situations where I think it's I think freedom is the better choice though. So do you get... No, he has marked administration but hasn't gotten it, so he doesn't have any other natural growth boosts either. So he has to get his settlers out the honest way now. without any bonuses to them. Meanwhile, oh, what's this? It looks like there was a very short civil war. Only with the cleric oligarch trying to pull some moves. But I only see one slinger here, and the family isn't even too upset. So, must have been one of those weird event chains that I don't really remember how it goes. The uncrowned queen event chain. Game though, very good as a general. This cleric's family here. Swift, self-fierce, ruthless is a lot of power in one character. But of course, it's much better to have her killed instead of have her running rebellion. I did get warlike from an upgrade here, so very good tempo for Assyria. Compassionate even as a bonus, so the only thing is missing from Assyria's this very strong early game is the science income is not great. Already building the pyramids. Must have grabbed the stone. Yeah, he did grab the stone boost. I remember him taking it. So we'll get that good, those nice discount to all his laws later on. I assume that he will wait before grabbing either epics or exploration as well from this rhetoric, just to grab the discount. Because the discount is already worth 9 turns of civics. So you might as well wait the 6 turns you need to finish the pyramids before pressing the button. If this was aristocracy and it was centralization, I think you wouldn't wait for the discount for centralization, but neither of these are hugely impactful bonuses. A lot of the bonus value of exploration comes from the exploring events, and the epics bonus is nice but rather minor. So I think you are happy to delay this, but we will have to see in a couple of turns. Did clear the rebel here, so is now free on to keep on expanding. This would have been a nice patron site with double silver, but it's a nice cleric site as well, I guess. Not a clerics are kind of in a weird spot here because they want to build monasteries. They want groves, and their family each wants good growth so it can spam disciples. But they also want to be in sand because this urban improvements on sand is the only way to actually make use of these flat sand tiles. It's a bit of a weird dichotomy in the places the clerics want to settle. Hello, Mojo. Oh. Let's see for what's Persia up to here. Yeah, it's true that that Assyria has gone for double clerics, double champions instead of settling their last family. But because you have patrons or hunters, I think he doesn't want to go for patrons. I think this is a completely reasonable patron seat here with double precious resource. So I think this tells to me that he wants to go for hunters instead. But isn't happy with having this as the hunters capital. Seasand was first pick, so this must be Icematrix's map pick. I could probably go and check from the chat log here. Let's see. There's no mention in the chat, but Seasand was the first pick nation, so I assume Icematrix had the map pick. There's a question about a tactician or hero or zealot with steadfast as a starting leader, and it's very strong. Of course, I do agree, and that's one of my go-to version is just going with a tactician as my first leader. But the players tend to value the +1 year from urban improvements as a very powerful bonus, as well as the production time for workers, and then the bonus to stacking worker. Like everything that builder gives you is powerful, and then it gives you money. So the builders are, if you think that the game will go on for a bit, the builder gives you so much economical bonuses that it's hard to pass by. While scholars they are not quite as common as many of the other archetypes, but the bonus to redraw in text means that you can really beeline if you have something specific in mind that you want. And to me, it seems like Persia is really aiming for this for law opening here for law timing with divine rule slavery, and then immediately beelining for sovereignty. So you get these these three laws, and then labor force here. So you you can basically immediately start getting your 6 strength units out. So it's just different priorities. But I do really like Tactician as my first leader because it makes your expansion so easy. It's basically foolproof. That it's almost impossible to actually mess things up if you have a Tactician as your first leader. For Zealot, the problem is that you get one negative wisdom, so your science rate actually suffers, and you really don't have the option of using the bonuses for heroes and zealots in the very early game. So if you look at the bonuses that heroes get, is the healing in neutral, the leader bonus is probably the most important here. So the heal while pillaging and 50 training per military unit killed are both something that you don't really get a huge amount of use out of. You'd much rather have some other archetype on your throne and then grab a general hero from one of your families if you can get one. And the stats on heroes are, well, they probably aren't the worst, but they are kind of close to the worst. While for zealots, if we look at the zealots, they are so this -1 wisdom is usually the killer, but usually if people go for zealots, it's because of this fatigue limit in the early game can allow you to do some silly stuff with very fast rushes. It's just what I consider to be the strongest bonus that the zealot archetype has is the reproduction with training in state religion cities, but it's very difficult to get enough your state religion up before your original zealot leader is in threat of dying. So you can see here it's year 21. Both of the leaders for these families are in their late 30s. So even if you had beeline your religion here, you probably wouldn't have the enough training to actually rush with it, so you kind of give up on some of the bonuses. So that's why I only consider tactician to be the the most viable out of those three general archetypes. And that's mostly just because of this stance target for one turn is such an immense amount of tempo that it makes your expansion super easy. And then of course vision range and being hidden means that you do not get bullied if you get an early meeting with your enemy. And of course there's always cheese that you can do with tacticians, but let's not talk about that when we are not watching a cartridge game where that is applicable. But yes, it's just that schemers, builders are probably the most common starting archetypes at the moment because of schemers cheating the order economy and builders being kind of able to do the same as well with -1 year to build improvements, effectively being a order discount on every improvement that you make. You can kind of count that if you build a quarry normally, and it's a three-year quarry, but as a builder leader, you save 1 year before that quarry finishes, which means that quarry costs you 1 order less as well. So it's not just a saving in time before the quarry comes online, but it's also a saving in orders. Speaking of which, he does have the double worker here, so he will have the pyramids completed. I assume 3 turns faster than they would have been completed as well. So it's another bonus for why the builder is so strong. But yes, it's a very good question. And to continue on from that as well is that Zealot, I think most players consider Zealot to be the strongest mid to late game leader. It's very common to see in those wars that happen on turn 70 to 100 and later that both nations will have a Zealot on the throne then, just to rush out units faster and then get the extra fatigue. My personal kind of I am kind of curious on why we see so few commanders in the late game though. I really like late game commanders. Mostly because the text on them that says that you get extra training here. So this plus 10 EXP per year for all units, and then the even defense strength as a bonus means that this is effectively 10 training per year per unit. And in the late game, when it's quite common for the players to both have 20, 30, even 40 units on the field, the commander can easily translate to 300 extra training per turn. Of course, it's worse than getting 300 training straight out, but yeah, it's still the amount of training you save from promotions is a lot. But then you could also argue that there's a lot movement bonus that you get, the force march limit, or rather the movement limit in general, means that you need to force march less, which also kind of gives you extra training back, but that's not really true to the same degree. It's getting the Yazilikaya. Does that mean? Haha, funny. So the Yazilikaya says that you get extra plus 20% civics in your state religion cities, but he doesn't even have a state religion at the moment. He doesn't even have paganism. Wait, what? Weird. Oh, right, it's this, so it's adjacent to mountains or holy city. It's not. You don't actually need a holy city for it. It's not like the ziggurat where you need to have a holy city for it to do anything, or even be able to build it. But yes, well, this is a very strong one, the Yazilikaya, but that means that um, if Icematrix wants to be really cheeky, he could try to deny both Zoroastrianism and Judaism, and then this wonder wouldn't do anything. It's just very difficult to actually try and deny both religions from Persia with their starting pasture tech. It would mean that Assyria here would need to tech for husbandry, and then build 2 pastures, and then put 2 ranchers on them before Persia manages to do it. Because it's one of the things that keeps tripping me up is that for all the other religions after, you need to have the previous religions for, like, you need to have Judaism for Christianity, and you need to have Zoro and Christian for Manichaeism. But well, you can find Zoro and Judaism in any order. Just the one just needs 2 acolytes and one needs 2 ranchers. Well, I have lost thrown a game before because I thought that Judaism needs Zoro before you can found it. But that is, you can easily skip it, especially as Persia. If Persia's bonus to the extra orders to pastures means that Persia is probably the easiest nation in the game to get Judaism with. But yes, nice bounce back from Seasand here. It doesn't seem like losing his first slinger mattered too much to him. Still will grab these sides here. Of course, he is way behind. Oh, actually, he will be on the same amount of cities pretty soon. But this is kind of a outlier of this Assyrian expansion because they did grab a free warrior and even have 2 heroes on the field. So this is very powerful expansion for this Assyrian opener. Does he actually see this? So if we check it, yeah, he does know that this side is here, but he's deciding to go for the further forwards ones before heading back to clear this. Might go on a crescent shape here. It's a bit awkward though because clearing this side, then this side is a decent amount less orders than doing it the other way around, because then you need to move your forces from this hilly barb side back to wherever they want to go. So we have hit turn 25, so the players are swapping off simultaneous. Pyramids up 4. Assyria did grab exploration. Mix. It's what I figured that he would do. Usually, if you have the opportunity to use exploration early game, if you have multiple kids, so you usually want to tutor one of your kids and then send the other one exploring if you have exploration. Some of the exploration events are really good. You get a pretty common one that gives you like 50 science or something. Pretty obscene like that. It's the 50 science immediately is usually better than tutoring your kid into a wisdom archetype anyways. That you would get more wisdom from tutoring into wisdom in the long run, but the science here and now is so valuable when you are trying to hit your first as culture techs or trying to grab barracks to. Oh, Assyria already has barracks, yeah. That's of course that's Assyria. But if you want to go for like labor force and navigation, the immediate science will give you so many returns so quickly that it's hard to pass by if you have the opportunity to go fishing for that. Let's see, Persia here. We'll have these. This will be city number 5. A bit late probably with this settling. He has to go for this side here, just so he doesn't lose it to re-emerging barbarians, but would like this to be a settler as well, instead of a worker. But I understand that it's an unimproved city, so getting your worker up is really important as well. The nice part about these wide maps, these big maps, it's funny calling a tiny size map big, but you know, it's not a dual size map, is that even with this weird kind of expansion path that Burger had to take, they can still clear all the sites before they kind of meet the other player. Because it's so large that even if Assyria decides to push, take the Vandal site and then just push over the middle point into the Persian side of the map, they can just kind of do the same in the south and still split the map relatively evenly. It's not like a dual-sized map where if Persia decides to push, or if Assyria decides to push to Persia's side of the map, and these would be the only sides in the middle, Assyria could then just take both of these sides and kind of cut Persia off from the entire middle point of the map. Just getting some free stuff with the war as well. Always nice when that happens. There are a couple of tribal meeting events that are actually good enough that they might make me not immediately declare war on the tribe. There's one that gives you, I think it's 50 stone or something like that, and that's one that I sometimes take instead of war. Already grabbing garrisons here. Assyria is backfilling for ironworking. I'm not sure if it's to spin and try to grab something that is more expensive here, but later in the tree could even be sovereignty. Sorry, not sovereignty. No, but he basically has all the good options already that he might want to go for. So I assume that it's the grabbing ironworking is for labor force for Assyria. For Persia, they have aristocracy marked here. Could grab exploration or epics. They have a pretty good income as well for civics. Seems like it's because of the husband being really smart in civics or really charismatic. One thing that you tend to notice quite often in these games that have, or rather these family setups where you have no gold boosting families from either patrons' mines or landowners' farms or traders, is that the gold income on some maps is really low for the players. For example, here the first gold resource that Persia can reach is this silver here, I think. And before that he will have no gold income from anything. Even these elephants. while they harvest to gold. When you harvest elephants, you get gold from them, but once you put camps on them, they are only orders. So there's a good chance that Persia will spend a decent amount of this game with negative gold income. You usually don't want to grab both police, and police is the easiest way to get gold income in the early game. It's just waiting for your hamlets to actually improve the villages and then towns takes a bit too long for these dual games. It's a bit more reasonable to do if you are playing on a tiny map instead of a dual map, but still, it's not. You're not really happy if you have to go for hamlets to get some gold income. What's this shrine? Sorry, wrong person here. Yeah, it's the farm adjacency shrine. Not quite as good as a granary, but it's good enough. I am curious to see if Persia will adopt the pagan religion once it spawns. With clerics being in the game, you get the option of doing that. I just assume that with the Yazili construction, he would want to go for an actual religion, but yeah, it's kind of difficult to say no to the immediate bonus of getting those extra civics. It will be interesting to see. Let's see. We're almost at turn 30. Seasand is actually effectively leading in military, or would have been leading in the military because he lost his starting scout and Assyria got a warrior from an event. So this is basically even in terms of the effort put into your military, or into the player's military. For civics, very even. Training, Assyria is leading. I assume it's from, it's just from having double. It's just from champions, I think. I don't really know where else he would have gotten those extra training from. Yeah. For science, Persia is leading because of having a scientist, scholar leader, and with a scholar husband. It's it's 11 coming from the queen and 3.6 from the king consort. Actually has 2 king consorts, but this one isn't really happy and contributing to the science income. So does that mean that he has a... Yeah, he has peace with the Numidians. A bit unfortunate though that the only 2 Numidian camps are these ones here. So, well, he can. It's a bad thing in that there's only 2 of them, so they will eventually probably start raiding him anyways. You can't really ignore them forever. But it's nice in the way that he can clear the other stuff first, then break the peace and come and clear these with a couple of units in 20 turns or whatever. Kind of rare to see all of the full 5 tribes on these 1v1 maps anyways, but this is very large for a tiny map. So I guess there is enough enough space for all the tribes to get spawned in with more than one site. Get less workers. I'm curious to see where this one goes. I think you probably have to go forwards, but then you need to put something on the city side here so you don't lose it to the respawning barbarian. Awkward timing here with the settler. Oh no, this is a bad one. Abandoning an ambition or yeah, getting stressed. Interesting to get this one though. Usually you start getting this faltering ambition events once your first ruler dies and the heir gets on the throne and starts running out of time. It's not often that you see these on the first, when these ambitions don't have a timer up yet. Also has the ambition to make the peace with a tribe, but doesn't seem like there are. Well, I think he could go get a peace with the Danes here without it hurting him too much. Yeah, you probably, if you peace out the Danes and then just start clearing southwards, you are in a good spot anyways. This is one of the best capitals I think in this I've seen in a while here. Very balanced with double food resources, the double food resource quarry. Actually a triple food. Yeah. Triple food and a quarry and ore. Yeah. Basically screams to me for either a landowner or a hunter's capital with the game in the first ring here. No, this quarry isn't actually for the capitalist from the second city. It's just the cleric's capital here stole it from the expand. Let's see where the settler goes. So now Persia has to move one unit here to step on the tile, so that he doesn't lose the city side to repopulating tribes. As well as it's even worse because this would come back as Numidians and he has peace with the Numidians at the moment. So he really doesn't want Numidians to respawn here. This timer here doesn't actually show for the players anymore after it goes into the fog of war. So it's easy in these timed matches when you are working under pressure and stuff. It's easy to lose track of when you actually stepped off this tile. Especially because this was still cleared when the players were still on simultaneous turns, so he even didn't have the time between turns to think about it. Interesting to see the queen here on a warrior instead of being in a city. Instead as a mediocre diplomat. But it's a Pathfinder diplomat. Its values the bonus orders and the bonus food from these instead of the queen's own bonuses. But the clerics are really, oh sorry, the riders are very unhappy with him. Or with the queen. Because the previous oligarch got forcibly removed, looks like. And yeah, then it's double difference from the queen being debauched. Sorry, the oligarch being debauched. It seems like this color queen will be going anyways here. Currently doomed. Though being blessed does mean that you can actually outlive doomed for a turn. We'll see next turn. Nice Pathfinder actually here. Though usually you don't really want Pathfinder on your air. Let's see what type of student is he? He is exploring actually. So no type of student. I'm kind of curious why the elder is exploring and the younger is actually in school. Usually you would want to do this the other way around. Just so that you can take the short-term rewards from having the explorer and then put the long-term stat bonuses on the king or queen to be. Because a lot of the bonuses that you get from having exploration enacted and then exploring areas or an exploring kid are the short-term rewards that you can pick from those. And another side cleared here. Quite a nice triple stack of units. Can even bring the settler here and bit of wasted movement. Could just bring the settler here and then heal these units. Realizes that himself as well, I think. Did grab another another ambition to enact tyranny. Here. It's a nice law. Especially, it's one of the rare laws that actually gives you a good amount of gold income. It's just grabbing tyranny is a bit out of the weight quite often. It's not far in the tech tree, but going for sovereignty is something that isn't something that players usually like to do super early. Tends to be in that kind of awkward spot where you usually need to grab your 5 strength units in either in access or then archers, or even land consolidation, and you don't really want to go down here before grabbing these units because having 20% extra training is nice, but spending that 20% extra training on just building more 4 strength units isn't the most meaningful thing you could be doing. Oh, let's see. Nice. So got a regent. The queen consort became a regent instead of the Ea, who is a tactics student. Getting proud on your tactics student is always nice. Not quite as good as good when they are your Ea as when they are just the second or third in line, but still, it's a +2 courage. Does mean that you get a good amount of extra training. Nice. 370. Extra 70 science from one of these coronation events. I think you snap pick that +70. Lets you get the aristocracy immediately and then even get a good way into your next deck. I'm kind of curious about this sovereignty mark though, because getting aristocracy means that he will already have 4 laws. So he doesn't actually need to get sovereignty with the clerics being in the game. I understand if you don't go for clerics and instead go for a statesman, then grabbing the 4th law from sovereignty makes a lot of sense because you do get the. It's a very nice timing that you get from the sovereignty giving you the extra training as well, so you can get your unique units out faster without rushing them. Usually the fallout timing is so fast that you actually don't have the option of rushing at that moment. Unless you are playing a judge leader as your starting leader. That's usually the only way you have the rush ability when you hit fallouts. If you are going for the actually fast fallouts timings. But it seems like both players are going for those fast fallouts timings. With clerics. That is usually the biggest bonus that clerics do give you is the free law from game start, even if it's not the most impactful law until you hit it's not. I think it usually means that you get 4 orders in the mid game, early mid game. But getting those shrines up immediately isn't super fast usually for the nations that actually get clerics as one of the families. Now, if Kush had the opportunity of getting clerics, that would be crazy, but it's probably a good thing. It's a good thing that Kush doesn't have cleric success. It's surprisingly strong being able to spread your pagan religion into other cities without having to invest into polytheism. Usually you need polytheism to get multiple, more than 4 cities with your pagan religion. But Kush can kind of cheat that with their Kushite pyramids. Let's see, did Assyria go for... Well, we'll see next turn. There's one shrine for Persia. Yeah, it's almost complete. We'll lose this city site, which does mean that he will have to declare war on the Numidians to get it back. But it's the only shrine at the moment. Crazy actually that this is a quad marble expand as the first expand, and then there's a triple marble expand as the second expand. So I think Persia has to be unhappy that they didn't go for statesman here. This would have been an insane 1-2 statesman site combo. Or even, well, I think rather want to go hunters here, or even riders here. But still, this would have been a very good order pump city. Actually, does he have a... Yeah, the only character that he has are these scholars, so you can also just go put specialist on these quarries here, or these marble tiles here, and then start pumping out inquiries. It's one of the better ways of spending your civics as well. Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, is that because Persia here has actually no gold income from anything, especially now that the queen died and the queen had a couple of points of discipline, so Persia will be in a pretty deep gold income hole for the next multiple turns. He would be -80 if he didn't have this really nice Numidian courtier. So I know that it doesn't feel good, but it's really justifiable, I think, here to go and grab polis just for the gold. Because it's the only reliable way of getting gold income here in the early game. Aside from tutoring your kids into commerce students, but when you are in a regency, that isn't really an option for you. Meanwhile, the Assyria isn't really suffering from the same, but that's also because uh, he has a queen with 6 discipline. So once the queen goes away, he will also be negative gold. Is hit by a sandstorm in the capital, but looks like it didn't pillage anything yet. So not the worst. Only hits workers instead of military units at the moment. I have been completely screwed over by these sandstorms a couple of times when I've been trying to pull off some timing pushes with tribal units. Very annoying when you have just finished gathering all your troops in one location in order to upgrade them and then you get hit on the sandstorm. Interesting. Assyria has split forces here, so there's one slinger here and one slinger here and one slinger here, so he doesn't really have the forces to push anywhere at the moment. I mean, with exploration, one of the bonuses on exploration being that you get movement bonus on neutral rivers, so you do get into the fight in one turn, so it's not as big as a deal as it could be if he didn't have exploration enacted. This would be a rather annoying fight otherwise. It just get the religion here, the capital. Then gets the wonder bonus on the shrine. Very nice. Usually this shrine is the most difficult shrine to use. So whenever it's something else than just the base +2 culture, it feels very good. Grab gold or some money. I assume this will just be the money. Yeah, because getting stressed is never nice. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a redraw as well for the tech choice. Just on first glance, I don't think any of those techs really speak to me. With clerics, I think you'd probably want to go for a monasticism beeline here, because you already have your 4 laws. You can build your Palton caves once you get your strongholds up, and then you can kind of skip the 5 strength units until after monasteries. It's greedy, but this is a pretty big map, so it's not as bad. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? You only have 4 cities, 5 cities if you count this one, so you don't really need audience. You can get all of these to developing culture with shrines. You don't really want to go phalanxes against Assyria usually. Spoke wheel is less necessary when you have a mounted unique unit. Metaphysics is nice, but it's kind of a low impact deck. Gives you a lot of nice stuff, but that's not really nice stuff that you necessarily need. This converting to state religion is very powerful, and high sinus are powerful, and archives are nice. And redemption, well, redemption isn't that good usually, but the other stuff is nice. It's just that when you compare it to, would you rather have metaphysics or one of these 5 strength units, even if they are not the kind of the 5 strength units that you might want to go for, I think you still pick one of these. Seasand is making use of the new added extra time bank that is on these tight turn rules. Used to be that you had basically no time bank right here at the beginning, but now you start with, I believe it's 3 minutes of time bank from turn one onwards. We'll have to see next turn that what Seasand went for. Drama makes a lot of sense for Assyria though, with having this many cities, already at 6 cities, and we'll probably get the 7th in short amount of time. And then you don't have enough shrines for all of these cities anymore, so drama becomes a lot more valuable. Interesting to see everything. He might not actually, yeah, hasn't gone for husbandry. I assume husbandry would be a pretty high priority at this point for Assyria as well, with horses here and what's this? This is goats. Yeah, goats here and then horses here again. So be a good amount of econ from those. These horses especially are nice because they do give that half an order. Usually you are pretty order constrained. Yasilikaya complete. Can adopt a pagan. Ah, interesting. Wonder why the other husband got exiled. Might have been some plotting events. Now I wonder if Seasand notices that this new Midian here respawned before moving his settler down to that site, or will he manage to clear towards these Thracians and then will only notice after this settler? This is the first rancher, I believe. I don't think there's one in the capital yet. But this does probably mean that Persia will get Judaism in a reasonable amount of time. If you get one rancher, you basically there's little reason not to get another one as well, so that you can get Judaism and start benefiting from those extra civics that you get from having a holy site, or rather a holy city. Does have pretty good scouting though. Comes pretty freely with having riders. Means that you can get these scouts in these forward positions pretty early on. Just know that or rather both players know that they haven't crossed the middle line yet. We do have eyes on not on the site itself, but they can see if units move towards the site. So they are aware that neither has crossed the halfway point yet. Now this is a pretty funny hunter city though, with this quad game here. Yeah, even more game. I think both players are really happy that they went for Hunters Nations. It feels like whenever I go for Hunters Nations that there are basically only 2 or 3 camps on the entire map, and I kind of have to live with the Hunters being purely a military family with Sentinel and 2 training a year and the middle text being irrelevant. just a shame because the extra yields, double yields are so powerful. Let's see, running festivals. I wonder if that's just because he doesn't want to build anything. Doesn't seem like there's much to put this specialist on, even after festivaling. Usually I'm not a big fan of this. Oh well, I'm not actually. I'm not a big fan of it of this time either because you have exploration. You already get the river movement on these tiles, so you don't actually need to collapse borders here for these to count as road tiles. Actually, this would have been a nice patron city as well. Ah no, it's not precious. I never remember what count as precious resources, but I can check here. So it's no, it's pearls do count. Interesting. Funny that it shows them twice as well. So this would have been a nice patron site with double pearls. Would be extra 50% culture income. But yeah, and even there's Heliopolis in the game, so there is a good reason to go to Legendary. This the Heliopolis being one of the most powerful wonders in the game. One straight at power because the one order per shrine per year is an immense amount of orders that you can get if you go and grab polytheism and then build every shrine in every city. I have seen there was one of the longer matches here that was played on the sparse city side map where both players only had 5 cities, and because both players only had 5 cities, they had a rather small pool of orders available for them. So the one of the players went for Heliopolis and actually basically doubled their order out income from from 40 to 50, like 60 something. So not quite double, but 50% extra. He's getting some money. This is one of the weird events to kind of evaluate for me because the Silphium's luxury isn't super powerful, but you can get it's just like sneakily strong. Just the ability to get a luxury that gives you that to culture and then you can just throw it somewhere. That it means that, for example, Horomidra here could actually get to developing in a surprisingly short amount of time and without you needing to ever build any culture buildings in it. If you are happy with having a city that never gets too strong, those pre-luxuries can be really powerful in that. For example, like this city will probably never have enough training to be reasonably building your Palthorn cavalries, your 8th UU. So it's very nice to just to get this to developing and then start pumping. So you can start rushing your 5 strength or 6 strength units from it, even if you never get to your 8 strength unit. It's just so little investment if you can play around with luxuries. The discontent reduction is basically, well, it's not irrelevant because it does do something over the long term, but it's something that it matters way less than the culture income that you can get from them. I am just a I don't like researching drama. If I can avoid researching drama and just going for, I'd rather go for military techs or even police for that gold income. So if I can skip drama and go for get to developing or culture in my cities with just shrines and or luxuries, I'm happy to do so. And then only grab drama if when I start getting closer to my 7 law timing. But again, I'm not saying that I am successful that often with that strategy, but it's what I prefer doing. For example, if you want to go for land consolidation and 4 laws and then land consolidation is quite nice to not have to take drama to get your frontline cities to developing culture. But this one, Armored Hero. It's not the. I always get sad when I get some of these items, but when they aren't this, what is it called, Mysterious Sword. Even if on Last Color I think flat 2 courage is better than any of the bonuses that you get from the Mysterious Sword. It's just plus 50% damage against infantry is pretty. It's an immense amount of damage. Workers, warriors, fighting against the Danes here. Nice getting to. I think he went warrior, worker, warrior, warrior here. It's a lot of military power. Does mean that even if these Danes are harassing him, it doesn't really affect his progression too much. Would have been really nice if this was Riders instead of Cleric, though, with the +2 training there would have been really nice. But it's not. It's not like Clerics are bad either. It's just kind of vanilla. Sometimes I genuinely don't know if people understand the shorthand that I tend to use because it's so many years of being in so many different gaming circles and gaming communities which all use their own weird terms. So I don't half the time I don't even know myself where the shorthand comes from. I know that vanilla usually comes from card games, but I don't know if it's actually used outside of card games anywhere. Means just kind of a plain the default option that doesn't really add anything and doesn't detract anything either. Let's see, Assyria, 1 turn to drama. I wonder what it means that he's getting drama. I mean, it's not bad in any way, getting drama with a good amount of stone income, so you can just get your culture rolling in these frontline cities here. But it would indicate that he is not really in any hurry to grab the 4th law. Because if you grab drama, then you grab your 4th law, then you build your strongholds. It'll already be like turn 45, and you are Assyria with battering rams. You are not making any reasonable timing anymore. So I think he's rather going for 7 laws instead of 4 laws here. Or could be that he's even going for something else than 7 laws. Could even be a very spicy architecture here for the doctors. Because as science says constantly that these doctors are, let me actually show it from here, that doctors are strong enough that they are one of the only specialists that he might not actually rush out. It's the +2 growth from the first one and then the science default. and then you double those, and then you get the extra extra science per culture level, and then you get even more. So they scale really nicely for the science income. Kind of like same as with the monks that you get from monasteries, where the monks also scale with your culture level. Sorry, I keep clicking stuff. So the monk, meanwhile, the apprentice monk is just culture and science, the default science, but the elder starts giving you civics per culture level, as well as the master just giving even more per culture level. So it's the master monks and master doctors are very powerful in how they scale and very synergistic with each other as well. The problem with architecture is just that vaulting is kind of a dead tech. Is that there's not really anything that you want in these duel games on vaulting with the cathedrals, because the investment of getting temples is already so big that you don't really want to go for cathedrals, and iconography and calligraphy are not something that really do anything for you in these duel games either. They are very slow, well, powerful but very slow laws. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why people don't really go for architecture that often, is that it doesn't lead to anything that you want to go for. I mean, basically the opposite of manor, where manor itself is pretty powerful. You know, it gives a rush tech, but it also leads to Bodkin Arrow and Windlass and cohorts. So manor is probably the most common tech in this. What's this? If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so tier 5 techs. Manor is usually the most common because it leads to all the mostly powerful military techs. But it's just something that it's one of the peculiarities of these duel games is that they are very different in how they play compared to big team games or your typical single player games against AI, where the AI has too big of an early advantage where you can't really fight in the first 50 turns if you want to not become irrelevant in the late game. Okay, so the Assyrian's queen died and there's a commander on the throne now. Still exploring at 22. Yeah, but this is what I meant, that when you look at these siblings. So this is the elder who was out exploring, and he's just it's a 5 stats total if you take the minus here into account with superstitious, and this is not a good leader for your second leader when you have had the money to actually tutor here, and it looks so you'd much rather have her on the throne with the 6 wisdom and 2 discipline. She would be a very nice ruler here. While if you do this the other way around, so you tutor the elder and send the younger to exploring, you tend to get the better options long term. Though it seems like the sister didn't get tutored that many times either. Yeah, because this ascetic gives her a lot of the stats. I do really like superstitious though. It's an objectively basically a bad trait. It doesn't really just negative bonuses. But Superstitious has some of the more fun events in the game associated with it. You can get a lot of those what are they called? They are shrines, but they are not. They are not like paganism shrines. They are cult shrines. I think they are called, from sacred and profane. And you can basically get a free barracks in your capital, for example, from some of the superstitious events. As well as I think you can get blessed from being superstitious. It's one of just those things where you don't really tend to, or rather, I didn't know how many good events are associated with superstitious because it's something that you don't really want to take that often if you have the option, because the -2 wisdom is something that you'd rather avoid. Meanwhile, this person queen is very and 8 courage at age 19 is an amazing amount of courage. Does mean that she can pretty easily hit with 10 or 12 courage if she just lives long enough. Proud even counts as a weakness and not a strength, so you can start stacking those plus courage strengths on top of this. And usually getting this much training is kind of overkill because you don't really have a sink to actually put this training into that easily. But with her being a hero as well, the launcher offensive is something that you can easily spend 1600 training into in a couple of turns and just absolutely roll over a fight. With her only being 19, there's a good chance that she's still alive at turn 80 or even turn 90, and that's when a lot of the fighting will probably take place here. At least I don't think it will be much before that, just because of how far the players are from each other, and then Persia's expansion being kind of slow with this new median side coming back and with losing the starting slinger and those things, putting a slow on it. And with Assyria as well going into more of a economic mode, with spending almost half his orders on improvement construction instead of clearing these sites. So Assyria is not going full out on grabbing these Barb sites either. Of course, with these barbarian encampments having upgraded into outposts, or rather, I don't remember what the tier 1 is. Might be hovels maybe. But this is the upgraded barb camps, so clearing them with these 4 strength units is a lot slower now than it used to be just 10 turns ago or so. And let's see. Players are considering finishing the session for this evening. That's why the timer here is paused. I have the unfortunate ambitions for Assyria, though. He might be able to get peace with the Thracians here. He doesn't need to clear this site now here if he doesn't want to, and this site is too a bit probably a bit too far forwards for him to be comfortable going forward through this open area. So I'd be interested to see if he can get this piece here. 2 techs away from spoked wheel though, so this seems like it's more likely to fail the piece with the tribe. Sovereignty is impossible, but I think if you are grabbing the free settler here instead of getting aristocracy and then sovereignty, you are pretty. You might get unlucky and just fail it just because of bad with tech card RNG being against you. Meanwhile, smoked wheel still on the way. It's a lot slower now that the scholar queen and the scholar husband are both out of the picture. Seems like Seasand hasn't really invested into science, which is understandable, of course, when your units dies here, so you need to kind of double down on your military production so that your expansion isn't too slow. But it does mean that there are no, basically no urban specialist in all of Persia. Actually, does he even have any? Yeah, he does have shrines, but no specialist here yet. Unfortunate for him as well that there's the Yasilikaya is built here now, but he doesn't have a state religion yet. So this Yasilikaya was pretty preemptive in a way. It's been completed for multiple turns now. Can I see it here? So now it's turn 38. And Yasilikaya was completed on 33. So it's been 5 turns of getting no bonus from this wonder yet. It seems like the players are deciding to stop here. Interesting session so far though. I really like this Hunter's Persia pick here. This makes the capital is very powerful with this. So I like that from Persia, but I think Icematrix has probably been, well, not just probably here, has been doing better in the expansion phase with getting the pyramids and getting some of this infrastructure up as well here, while keeping pace with the expansion. But it's definitely not a done game yet here. The Yasilikaya is one of those very powerful catch-up tools. Once Persia gets to actually spreading religion, the plus 20% civics in cities means that you can start getting those urban specialists out really quickly. But yes, thank you all for watching, and I will leave you here. Let's see when the players can pick this up, so hopefully I can also cover that part then. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.